Very good morning and welcome to a special edition of your favorite program, Waiting They Happen. Yes, you'll be wondering to see the likes of Chuka and Ekanem, yeah. But this is a special one where we'll be taking a look at the security situation in, of course, the heartbeat of the nation. You know what I'm talking about, Edo State. As so much has been done, we have seen that the state government passed the anti-grazing law. We have also seen that village communities and of course, I'm going to say village community heads in villages have also had meeting with the state government on the need to ensure that those rearing cattle in their community asked to leave the community because of the anti-grazing law. And so to do this morning and other issues surrounding security in Edo State, I have with me the Honorable Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Honorable Andrew Emwanta. Very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, and good morning to our viewers. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Yes, of course, this is Edo State rooted in the state capital, in the nation's capital, FCT, where, of course, this information will be doled out for free. Yeah, so you have to stay glued as we start with the security situation in Edo State. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you. So far, so good.
Most state government takes very seriously the problem of these headers, farmer classes, and the fact that some of these headers, use all manners of, weapons and other dangerous, I think weapons, that's the word.
Yeah, instead of using
bow and arrow, they use AK-47 and other very dangerous weapons.
They use stick. Stick to direct their cattle, but now it's no longer that. They use something very sophisticated.
So as I was saying, that has created a clear and present danger, which of course constitutes serious security threats, and that is why the Edo State government took a step further, not just in legislating against open grazing as it relates to cattle, but livestock in total, because tomorrow we may find a situation where people may decide to go into this oxen, bull, or even sheep business, and we'll have the same security situation. So that as it stands in Edo, open grazing has been prohibited. Section 9 of the Edo State's Open Grazing Prohibition Law, which was signed by the Executive Governor of Edo State on the 27th of May this year, makes it a criminal offense, punishable by imprisonment of not less than a year and 1 million naira as a fine, and we find a situation where both can be imposed. So that way, it therefore means that in Edo State, these headers cannot just move freely with their cattle. They must, as of necessity, get a ranching permit. So we will not have livestock farm, which cut across both those rearing cattle, those rearing horses, oxen, goat, sheep, and even pigs. So we are trying to regulate it in a way that we don't have a situation where people hide under this idea of being a Fulani herdsman or a cattle header to commit all manners of crime. Before now, they used to rape our women, our farmers found it very difficult to go to farm. But with this new legislation, which has now criminalized open grazing, it therefore means that our farms and our forests, are safe. And that is not just what government is doing. During this second term, the government was able to establish the Edo State, a new ministry, the Edo State Ministry of Public Security and Safety. And this ministry has the duty of interfacing with all the security agencies in the state. And so far so good, I think this present government has done a lot. First, there was need to establish our Edo Security Network, which has in the past, 1 year, collaborated with other security agencies in reducing incidences of kidnapping in the state, armed robbery and what have you. And apart from that, our nightlife has returned, from the NSAS situation. You find that it was difficult, nationwide for people to move freely. But in Edo State, the state government took a step further in establishing what we call the Command and Control Center. The entire Benin City and other cities like Ekoma and Aochi are well lit at night. You know, we have what we call the Edo State Independent Power Plant at Osiomo that guarantees 24-hour, power supply. So all our street lights in Benin City are connected, so that at night, moving around, it's very easy for this security personnel, both the Edo State Security Volunteer Network officials who are armed, and the mainstream security people, the DSS, the police, for them to move freely at night, because it is in the when there's darkness, you find that most of these men of the underworld, they find it easy to operate. But when you have a well-lit city, it's difficult for crime, to be perpetrated. It is in the cover of dark, most of these violent crimes are perpetrated. And apart from that, we also want to say that the Edo State government is collaborating with the local government. You did mention that, yes, the various traditional rulers, because most of these crimes happen in communities. Just like politics, criminal activities are local. The issue of security is local. So the Edo State government is collaborating with the local government and the various, traditional rulers. And just recently, the state government has now given churches, religious houses, mosques, churches, the opportunity of having their own vigilante. So that way, this problem of people going to churches to attack them, just as we saw recently, I think in one of the states where we had, was it?
Repeatedly, wherever fathers attacked some,
That is what the Edo State government is doing.
Yeah, but it's a good thing that the government has taken this step to ensure that people move safely. People are, of course, guided from, scrupulous elements. But one thing is key. Beside the fact that you reach the major cities in Edo State, the Auchi, Eboma, and of course the Benin City, what happens to intelligence? What is this government doing to, get intelligence from those that are not security agents, from those, of course, that are civilians? Because most people, that are civilians, have handful of information, and most time are ready to dole it out. But the response from security agencies is a reason why most of them just stay back and allow that information to just die with them.
That is why we have this clamor for state police, because I did mention earlier that the issue of security is local. And as such, as a state government, the idea behind the Edo State Security Vigilante Network is to have people from each of these communities safeguard their respective communities. And when, for instance, a stranger comes into a community, it's only a security personnel who is from that area that will be able to identify that person as a stranger. And as such, the state government, of course, having this kind of security network in place, now provides intelligence to mainstream security agencies like the police, the DSS, and the civil defense. And we've been able to use this in tackling the problem of kidnapping. Remember recently in Edo State, some Reverend Fathers were kidnapped. And of course, the state government, through the acting governor, swung into action immediately. And I think within the next 48 hours of that incident, 2 of the Reverend Fathers were, rescued.
And remember, there was also an expatriate
Reverend Father
that was also rescued. So you find that the state government, over time, has been able to leverage
on the Edo State Security Network in gathering intelligence for both the mainstream, and security agencies, and for the state government, because every state has what we call the State Security Council. And in Edo, the State Security Council have been very proactive under the able leadership of the executive governor of the state. Still on the issue of intelligence, we will also discover that our forest over time, because we don't have a whole lot of activities going on in our forest, that is why some of these, murderous individuals, these Fulani headsmen, are found
Headers.
Kidnappers, as it were, have found our forest a safe haven for their hideous and criminal activities. Just recently, the Edo State government, of course, have legislated, and we now have what we call the Edo State Forestry Commission. The duty of that particular, agency of government is first to police our forests, and also to create a room for those trees, because there's a whole lot of illegal logging going on in our forest for regeneration of the forest, and to also make it economically viable, because we have what we call the Edo State Oil Palm Program, and you have a whole lot of people coming to invest. So we need to ensure that first, we keep our forests busy, because of course, the law established the forest gas system. You know, the Okomo National Park is one of the foremost one in our sub-region. I mean, when I say our sub-region, I'm referring to the West African sub-region, and the Edo State government wants to revive this place, because before now, some of these criminal elements used to hide there, but it is no longer a safe haven for them.
Okay, so it's really a good one, but you know, when it comes to insecurity, we can go on, and I'd like to ask, what's happening to, you know, state of rivalry between cult gangs or cultism? What is the state doing to you know, reduce that? We can't really eradicate it, but to an extent, is the state bothered about addressing the issue of cultism?
Yeah, the issue of cultism is a criminal offense. It is a criminal offense for anybody to join any secret organization, whether you call it a cult group or a secret society. And the Edo State government has very, you know, proactive steps it has taken in dealing with this problem. And we find that these individuals at times are the ones that are involved in hard drugs, I mean illicit drugs. They are involved in even kidnapping in some cases. And that is why the government is dealing with this issue holistically, you know, in collaboration with the Nigerian police force, and of course our local vigilante. And you know, most of these initiation activities that occur do occur in our, you know, forest areas,
and we have lots of them.
As such, that is why the government has stepped up its operation. Just recently, the Edo State government approved money for the establishment, I mean, for the building of a forward operating base of the Nigerian Army along the Benin-Aochi axis, precisely at EDO. And the idea is that these military officials, they do a whole lot of patrol work on that axis. They go into the forest, they comb it, to be sure we don't have these criminal elements. And when I say these criminal elements, it includes cultists. And if you look at the news, you discover that, or you follow news coming from Edo State.
Yes.
Over the past 1 month, a whole lot of cult activities have been quelled.
Attacks
These individuals have been arrested, and the state government will not rest on its laurels. We will continue to engage all criminal elements to make Edo State safe for all the residents of our state and even visitors. If you notice, the air traffic to Benin City is such that we have about 6 airlines that bring people almost on a daily basis to Benin City. At times at the airport lounge, it's difficult to find a place to sit. So if Edo State or Benin City is not safe, do you think people want to come? Of course, the answer is no. So for us, we are doing our best and will continue, because it is a constitutional mandate. Section 14, sub 2B of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution says the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. And for the governor, we have what we call our mega agenda. That's an acronym for making Edo great again. You know, in systematic pillars. The first is economic revolution. For us to have people come to invest in our state must be secured, because it is a promise we made to the people to secure their rights and property. And you know, welfare is tied to it, because if the economy is buoyant, everybody will have something to get from, you know, economic activities. And even for those that, you know, choose to go into the social sector, you have a secured environment to operate. Because for businesses to operate, there must be security. And that is what we attract the kind of investments any government will get in. Because now you find that we are now moving from an oil economy to a green economy. All the investment the Edo State government has made so far is yielding results. In terms of agriculture, we have done a whole lot in oil palm and other arable crops in such a manner that we have a whole lot of people investing in the region of billions. We have a whole lot of expatriates that have decided to come to invest in Edo. And we expect even more to come across all sectors. In the manufacturing sector, the Chinese are already in Edo. Most of our industrial layouts, they have taken over all our industrial layouts. The ceramic tiles that people use in, you know, building, most of these things are done locally. Talk of our doors, we talk of virtually everything.
All from Edo State.
It's a made in Edo concept that we are building, and tied to that is the issue of security. And that's why the government is not resting on its laurels in dealing with the problem of insecurity.
Well, it's a good one that you're explaining what the Edo State government is doing in terms of not only tackling insecurity but also creating jobs. But I would like to ask, if the time permits, to what extent has job been created? How many persons have been taken off the street? And what is the standard of living like? Maybe let's push this particular one forward. But the focus is insecurity. And without insecurity, even the enabling environment for business to strive will not be possible. The unemployment, the employment that the state is, hinging on, will also not be possible. The ceramics you talk about, people, the foreign direct investment coming into the state will not be possible. So now the government is doing quite a lot. You have explained. It's the list is a long one. What about the people of Edo State? How should they come in? What role do you think they should play? Because security is a business of everyone. Yes, it is in the constitution that government has that sole responsibility. It can only be possible if the people cooperate. So what should the people of Edo State, those in the state, those outside the state, at times these things come from one big name outside who reside in the city, and call is placed across and question is asked, what should we do? Should we cooperate or not? So for those in the state, for those in local communities, at what level, those in the city center, those outside Edo State that are freeborn of Edo State, what is the government expecting from them in terms of their role on tackling insecurity?
I think it was a great philosopher, was it Edmund Burke, that said, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. I think the call is for all Edo people to first and foremost be their own security officer. Because there's no crime that happens in isolation of an environment. Most crimes begin from a particular location. Because when you see strange elements come into a particular place, it therefore means that one or two persons are harboring them. Most of these criminal elements, before now, they used to move on motorbikes at night. We have banned that already. But now they move in most of all these vehicles, commercial, vehicles. And in some cases, even there was a time they even used tricycles. That's why just this week, the Edo State government has banned the use of unregistered vehicles starting from 1st of August. That is to say, from now on, if you operate in the state, your vehicle must be with a registered number plate and must be updated with the Edo State Inland Revenue Service. Because you discover that most of these unregistered vehicles, or some of these people who want to cover their number plates, use their vehicles for criminal activities. And of course, all the security agencies have been alerted. So starting from 1st of August, the problem of this insecurity will be tackled from that angle. And that is why if you have a vehicle in your compound as a landlord, right, that is not registered, it is your duty to bring this to the attention of security agencies. We have our helplines. I mentioned earlier that we have our command and control center. So that if there's an incident going on, maybe a rape incident or a robbery incident, it is your duty as a citizen to inform, the security agencies. And from time to time, we always put these things out, in between, our state comprehensive news. It's everywhere on the social media. And you can even walk up to any police station to get these helplines. So that the issue of security is a collective responsibility. We talk of the role of the local government, we talk of the role of the state government, we talk of even that of the federal government, but it is individuals that live in these various places. For instance, we talk of the problem of insecurity in the FCT. The Koje incident that we had recently where, I don't know if it's a medium or a maximum security prison that was attacked by the Boko Haram, nothing was done in the area of intelligence. These people moved from a point, so how come we didn't have any checkpoints? Even after that, I know this thing lasted for over 1 hour. So that now talks about this issue of intelligence gathering from the people within the particular community or locality, as it were. So having said that, my call is for those state people to work closely with government. Government is doing a whole lot, but without the people, because the reason why we are in government is for the people. The social contract is between government and the people. And as such, that shared responsibility must be respected, particularly as we move into election. Because the 2022 general elections, you see people start this process of getting arms and ammunition. We want to ask politicians, of course I'm a politician, to ensure that
just before we go, you know our time is flying so fast, and let's take this one more, which is what greeted the bill signed into law by the governor, Godwin Obaseki. So many criticisms. You are the Commissioner for Communication and Orientation. Why are you keeping quiet?
Which criticism?
There are those that criticize the governor for signing the anti-grazing law into bill into law, that it is misdirected. So many persons, I can't mention name, you must have seen or read it, but it appears you have not said anything about it.
Well, the thing is, people celebrated the efforts the government made because first, it came as an executive bill which was deliberated extensively in ESCO. And I remember there was a contentious, I think that was what you are referring to, there was a contentious provision that had to do with giving a particular percentage of community land for ranching. Of course, that particular provision, that was not the case because under the law, there's a committee established that even involves representatives from the various communities, known as the EDO State Cattle and Livestock Control Committee. So that for anything to be done, for a ranching permit to be granted, it must go through due process. And there was nothing like allocating any particular percentage of, either community or individual land, for that purpose. And again, if you look at the clear provisions of the law, the permit that is given is for a particular period of time, which is 4 years, right? Renewable. And of course, there's a particular provision of the bill that prohibits a person that has that permit from alienating any part of that land. And of course, the provision of the Land Use Act was, reenacted. That is to say that all land within the state is within the control of the governor. And as such, there's nothing like that in that particular bill. Maybe that particular law they are referring to was passed by some other state, but in those states, the time within which one can enjoy that ranching permit of that particular site where you have ranching is for 4 years, which is renewable. But the moment any criminal activity is noticed, such a permit will be revoked. Assuming these herders now decide to bear arms in their various livestock farms, of course that can be a ground
to revoke it.
I think there is even a particular provision that makes it a criminal offense, for which they can be imprisoned, and a fine of, I think, ₦1 million will be imposed. So you find that this is one of the best bills that has been passed so far, because it does not just restrict it to cattle rearing, but other forms of livestock business. To bring sanity, there's nowhere in the world you just see animals stray into people's premises. And of course, because in every law, there's what we call the mischief factor. And that is what this Edo State open grazing prohibition law seeks to achieve. To take away the mischief that informed that legislation. Now, what is this mischief? That people hid under cattle, heading to commit all manners of criminal activities, namely maiming of Edo people, raping of Edo people, and destruction of people's farmland. And with this new legislation, which has been passed into law, it is now the duty of the state government to implement the law, and that is what government is doing.
Thank you so much for your time, Honorable Andrew, for coming all the way from Edo State to enlighten Nigerians on what the government of Edo State is doing. So laudable in my opinion. I'm sure you all have noted the state is as free as air for anyone that wishes to go there to do business. Like he also said, so many activities have been returned. The nightlife is beautiful. Everywhere is lit. You cannot commit any crime and go unnoticed. And of course, if you are caught, the long arm of the law will never spare you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And thanks for having me.
All right.